Hey guys, so just by reading the title of this video, you already know what I'm about to talk about. So let's dive into it. Before I dive into it, I do want to point out the fact that maybe two people know about this story, and even when telling them back then, I still didn't fully understand it like I do now. So here we go. So I was about 9, 10, and me, my sisters, and my mom, we all stayed in this house, and right across the street there were these teen boys. They stayed in the house across the street. The younger teen boy dated the sister that's right before me. And so the guys will always be by our house. It came to a point to where they were like family friends. So one day I was with the oldest teen at the house, the oldest teen brother. I was with him, and this was like a normal day for me. Growing up, I was a tomboy, so I was always out in the streets, you know. I'm just running wild, you know, and hanging with the dudes. I would prefer to hang with them because I grew up with girls, like my sisters, like 3 of them. And, you know, I just couldn't do that. No, but so one day I was with the older brother and we were just out. It was a normal day for me. I'm, you know, 9, 10 years old. That's what I do. I just run around with the guys. I may play with my sisters every now and then. You know, I just was doing wild stuff. I'm like running around the house with no shoes on. Well, outside the house with no shoes on. But so we decided to go out, and we were walking behind where my house was. We walked on the back street, and on the back street there were these train tracks, and there was this abandoned building and just nothing, you know, just a whole lot of nothing. You know, so and so we were walking back there and doing whatever, I don't know. And so he decided to, let's go in this abandoned building, right? So I'm thinking, I'm down for it. I'm a little boy in my head, so I'm like, cool, I ain't never scared, right? So we go in an abandoned building, and I remember exactly how this building looks. That's just how this story is just implanted in my head. I remember exactly how it looks. So so we go in the building. They had like flipped over chairs, maybe like 1 or 2. They had like a desk. They had a mattress in there. Just nothing, right? And so the older teen, who had to be, I was like 10, he had to be like 14 maybe. 14, maybe 15. He was older. So, so I'm walking, well, we're in there. And now I'm a 19-year-old girl. Like, I'm not thinking about nothing but this spooky place. So, and he's not a harm or danger to me because I've been knowing him for a long time at this point. So so we're in there, and he's he decides to kind of start filling up on me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this isn't normal. Like, this isn't right. Like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't a normal thing that we do. Like, what is this? So, I don't say anything. But because at this point I'm confused. As a child, I'm really confused. I have to see, like, I'm a 9, 10-year-old little girl. I have never been exposed to anything like this before. I don't know. This is my first time experiencing this. And then it's with somebody that I know and that I've trusted You know what I mean? So I'm not thinking nothing of it. You know, I'm not, you know, thinking anything about this, that he's touching on me, and I'm not thinking anything about it. So, he's just a feeling away. And so eventually, you know, he starts to, put himself inside of me. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I was laid up against the wall, and I remember him doing it, and then those thoughts of, this doesn't feel right, this, you know, like, you know, this ain't normally what we do. It went from that to, this isn't right, this, no. And I remember being in pain. I remember, you know, I'd even cried. Like, I wasn't like yelling out crying, but I was crying. And because I was faced towards the wall, I don't even think he realized that I was crying. But, you know, so I'm thinking, you know, this is alright. I'm still not yelling or anything, because I'm a 10-year-old girl, and this is family to me. So this doesn't seem like danger to me, but I know this isn't right. Like, you have to understand, like, I know it wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was it about it that wasn't right. I had never been exposed to sex. I didn't know what sex was. I wasn't even thinking about sex. So I never cried. I mean, I never yelled, or I didn't even fight back. I remember, you know, refusing it. You know, no, this isn't right. Wait, you know. And he would calm me down, because, you know, he know me. So, you know, he would get me to a place of being calm. And so after the fact of that, I just kind of, I don't even remember after that. I remember that part, and I remember, you know, not really fighting, but resisting, yes. But he calmed me down, or he would, and then everything else is kind of black. I think I just went into accepting mode there, and that gets me to the point of where I'm headed today. Well, let's not get to today. Let's go back about 2 years ago. So about 2 years ago, I had a conversation with my pastor. And I know he's one person that knows about it. But the pastor, he had brung it up to me about a situation. Like, he was like, I don't know, we started talking about just how being raped and molested and things like that, and, you know, just different things that could affect your life. And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, you know, there was this, when I first was touched, I was touched against my will. I was a 10-year-old girl, and he was explaining to me how that's rape. And I was like, because my mindset was, for the longest time, I'm 24 now, so I had to have this talk when I was like 22, and all the way up until that point, my mindset was like, you know, I never called it rape. I was just like, because, I mean, I didn't fight back, I didn't tell anybody. I felt like it was my fault. You know, I felt like if I felt like it was rape, I should have said it back then. You know what I mean? But he was explaining to me that you were raped, like, you as a child, like, you're the innocent one. And I didn't see that, and I never saw it, even up to 22 years later. Well, up until my 22 years of age, you know, I didn't see it. And so, long story short, after I finished talking him about it, him explaining to me, I realized, well, you know, that is rape. You know, I was a little girl, because, see, and that's the thing, I didn't see myself as a victim. I didn't. And it's so crazy talking about it, because here I am, this 22-year-old grown woman, and even in my rape experience, I didn't. Tell the story. Even in my experience, I didn't see myself as a victim, you know. because that experience gave me the deception that, you know, that had me not looking at myself like the victim. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I sat back and I just took it, you know, as a 10-year-old girl. So, growing up, even when guys would want to have sex with me, and I didn't want it, you know, but I knew that's what they wanted, which that little 10-year-old girl even when I didn't want to have sex, even when I was grown and I didn't want to have sex, so many times, most of all the times, I would just accept it. I would just let it happen, even when I didn't want to. And that's because of the mindset that I had. When it came down to sexual intercourse, I was still that 10-year-old girl, you know? It's like, when you first, when you first ride a bike, right? When you're learning and this your first time, you're doing it for a minute, that's what you do. Then you stop for years. Then you go back to riding that bike. You're going to go back into the first time that you rode that bike. And that's going to determine how you ride that bike. And that's what it was for me. So when I would have sex or whatever, I would think like I was still that 10-year-old girl when it came down to sex. And I did not realize that. And so my mind, I was so deceived in my mind to where I didn't even see myself as a victim, as the victim that I was. And, you know, because I don't know, it's something about playing victim that's in my mind. I don't know, that's a whole nother thing, but I just didn't see myself as a victim. So moving on to most recently, years after talking to the pastor, I was still struggling with that. I was still struggling with like intimacy, because I'm not the one to just go around having sex. That's not something that, you know, that I enjoy per se. You know, I'm not just out here sexing up people, you know. So when I find myself in situations to maybe having a boyfriend or trying to build a relationship with a guy, and that's something that he wants, and I find myself just accepting it and just allowing it, I would cry. I would literally cry, and I would pray, because, you know, I don't want to just be in a sex relationship with a person, you know. I'm all for love, and love and lust is two different things, and I've learned that as well. So it came to this point to where I was done. You know, it was the prayer that I've always prayed, but, you know, God knows your heart, and he knows when you're serious about something. He knows when you really desire something, and God knows that I was, even back when, just growing up, I would be like, God, I don't want to do this. That's not the way I want to do it. You know, God help me. And then also not wanting to have sex before marriage. God, I know that's a sin. So just trying to break sin barriers as well in my life. So, so I came to this experience with this guy, and I mean, I was just like, God, not again. Like, I was just kind of, in that point, I was numb to it. And I was like, just like, I don't know, it's like different stages. You know, it's a stage of me beating myself up. It's a stage of me bawling out my eyes. It's just, but I reached the stage till I was numb to it. And then, but in my heart, I still didn't desire it. I didn't desire to be just having sex with guys, or just to have sex, period, you know, outside of marriage. You know, I just didn't want to do that. So, oh, that was nasty. But so I wind up doing it again, and then in that moment I was numb to it. And when that happened, I didn't even go straight to God in prayer about it for maybe a day or so. I just was like, I was in my heart, I knew it was bad, but I was like, I don't want to keep giving God false vows. Like, I'm gonna say, God, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Forgive me, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And then eventually it happened again. So I was just numb, you know, because I'm like, God, I don't want to vow a false vow to you anymore. You know, I want to be serious. I want to be more serious about this. I want to be more in my demand about this. So maybe 2 days later, that is so nasty. I'd finally just prayed, and it wasn't like a hard die, bawling my face out, my eyes out prayer. It was just an honest prayer to God. And in that prayer, I remember, you know, just praying, God, there's no more done can you be after you're numb to the fact. I don't know. I was just like, God, I'm done with it. I just can't. Long story short, God brung me to that time that I was raped. Like, I wasn't thinking nothing about it. I wasn't like, that's something honestly that I dust under the rug for so many years that I never even approached. And that's why me giving this video is so important, because there were people that feel like they're not the victims when they're little kids, and it affects them even growing up. And so God brought back my rape, and then he started to minister to me about it. And he allowed me to see how my mindset is still that 10-year-old girl when it comes down to sex. You know, he allowed me to see that how the enemy wanted me even when I was a little girl, and how my will, God's will for my life, has so much to do about me wanting to love. And that was the hardest thing about where I was, because I am called to be a lover, called to be the heart of God, and I keep getting those two lines crossed, the love and the lust. And I don't want to lust anybody. That's why I say I don't want to be in a lust relationship. I want to be in a loving relationship. I want to have a powerful marriage. You know, I want to be able to, me and my husband, to glorify God in our marriage. And that's not, you know, what I stand for. I don't stand for lusting. That's not nothing that I never was really, you know, into. And even when I experienced it, it felt like I was sort of kind of possessed, like something else came on me, because that wasn't who I was. So I never really accept that. So he just started to minister to me and allow me to start seeing these things. And last night, leading up to last night we had service, and God was like moving real heavy on me. Like, he was moving real heavy in my life. And I know one of the reasons was because where my heart was, and where my heart will stay, just dealing with the will of God for my life. And understand, when God has this great calling upon your life to be something so great, the enemy knows that. Even at the age of 10, he knew that something God called this one right here to be something real great. And for so long, he had that device over me. And one of the scriptures that was read last night was, be not conformed to this world, but No, I'm sorry, not that one. It was the other scripture about knowing the enemy's devices. That one. You know, we're not ignorant of the enemy's devices. And for a long time, not even in my own knowledge, I felt like I didn't know. I felt I was deceived to be ignorant in knowing that that's how the enemy was working. You know, and as a young girl, he had those two lines crossed for years for me, because I felt like love and lust could coexist, but love and lust is two different things. And, you know, being who I am for God, you know, what he willed me to be is not to be a lust, you know, but to be a love, and to be the heart of God, to be like Christ, you know. And I see that now. I see that now. I can honestly say that I see that now. And even in giving this video, I was afraid. And that's another thing that they talked about last night, about fearing not, because, you know, you don't be afraid of God. And I was afraid of God because I felt like God's will had something to do with lust. And I couldn't separate those two. Not so much of God equals lust, but I just couldn't separate it, because I kept getting myself tied up in these situations to where, God, I don't want this, you know, but I love people so much, and I love so much, but I don't know how to separate it. And I see that now, and I thank God that I see that he is love, and there is no lust in him, you know. And, you know, I had to share it. I had to share it because he had it on my heart last night to share. And he was on me so heavy that I couldn't. But I'm 2 now, and I want to let every female know, or male, that you are the victim in that situation. And be not deceived. God is love. And he loves each and every one of us.